welcome, Jethro, to this show of Smarter Social. And it's going to be sharing how you can make money on social media and have the same success as the amazing Jethro, who's joined me today. If you'd like to share a little bit about yourself and your business, that would be wonderful.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for having me. And I've been a Smarter customer for a long time. I don't remember when I started, but it's been a few years and I've really enjoyed it. My biggest problem is I get lost in social media. And so I just go and brain rot consume, and I'm a consumer in there, which is not good for my business. So my business is I'm a educational consultant, so I coach and support school leaders, and I have a podcast that has about 700 episodes on it, which I'll talk about in a little while and how Smart totally helped with that. And then the other thing that I do is I create and produce podcasts for other people. So I help people create the podcasts that they want, and I have a lot of fun doing that. So that's the main idea. The big thing with social media is it is such a time suck, and it's so easy to get lost into it and to spend time there when I don't need to. And that's what I love about Smarter is that it helps me focus and batch my time in a way that's really valuable and meaningful.
Amazing. Thank you. So, kicking off, you mentioned that you have a podcast, and that you've got around 700 episodes. Is that right?
That's
So,
right. Yeah.
what was your main kind of goal when you started social media? Because you have a few things going on, like coach, consultant, podcaster. Was it to get clients? Was it to promote your podcast, make money through monetizing your podcast? If you could take us back to like how your business kind of runs and what you predominantly use social media for, that would be very cool.
Yeah, sure. So I use social media for connecting with people. That's the big thing for me. And I actually started on Twitter in 2009. So I've been on there for a long time and been using it. And then as I was connecting with people, I decided that I should start asking these people I'm connecting with some deeper questions and do a podcast. And so my podcast, Transformative Principle, I started in 2013. I'd been on Twitter for a few years and connected with these amazing people. And so I wanted a way to go deeper with the people that I was connecting with. And so the podcast came from that. And then the consulting and coaching came from that also. And so, really, my story is about being able to connect with people and then that leading to business later on. And so, the thing with social media, though, is that like everything's a river, right? And so, if somebody doesn't see what you're posting right then it's a very good chance that they're not going to go back and find it or look for it unless they're really paying attention to you specifically, which most people just don't do that. so so that's an issue for sure. And so the way that I've been able to use Smarter specifically with my podcast that I think is really powerful is I took the RSS feed part and I had it for about 3 years go through and post an episode of my podcast every single day to my Instagram account so that people could see my podcast and they'd come up again and they'd see them. And I had people who would comment or like my posts about my episodes that, these people never would have seen them before otherwise. And I just think that that's really powerful that I didn't have to constantly go in and do it again to get the word out about what I was doing. And the RSS feed part of it was really handy for that to be able to happen.
That's amazing. So you were predominantly focused on Twitter, now X. So like the name is,
Hmm.
and everyone
Yeah.
says Twitter, which I find so interesting.
Yes. Yeah.
So you were predominantly focused on just that one platform, and then it grew to other platforms like Instagram as your kind of social media journey continued. Would you recommend focusing on Twitter or X first for podcasters, or what would be your kind of advice for people that are maybe have launched their podcast or they're not getting very many listeners to their podcast? Where to focus on social?
Yeah. Really, what you want to do is you want to focus on the place where you're comfortable and you like to be. So, Instagram, for example, I don't spend a lot of time there. It just is not an engaging tool for me personally. I like reading and writing much more than sharing photos. And so X is a much better tool for me. I'm also trying to get better at LinkedIn for the business aspect of things, but I haven't had a lot of success there. And I also I just don't feel like spending a lot of time there. But I do love X and I go there all the time. And so that's my preferred social network. So I think the most important thing is do the thing that you enjoy and find yourself at anyway. Because if it's a chore to get onto Instagram or Facebook and be there, then it's going to be tough to have engagement, right? And that engagement is what is really powerful. What SmarterQ is really great at is making it so that you can get your stuff out there and then you know that it exists there and then you can go find the engagement and spend time, 5-10 minutes each day just responding to comments, quote, shares, whatever. And that's what I typically try to do at this point.
Okay, amazing. So if anyone is coming in cold and they're like, what is Jethro talking about? Smarter Q? How would you
Yeah.
describe what Smarter Q is to somebody that is just going into Twitter, going into Instagram, going into LinkedIn and kind of posting and saying, hey, listen to my new podcast? How would you explain that to them, what it does and with the RSS feed? Because people may be just starting out their journey and they may
Mhm.
not know what an RSS feed is. So how would you
Yeah.
explain it for somebody that's in your niche, in your industry?
Yeah. So really the the whole thing behind Smarter Q is the way I use it, which may not be how everybody uses it, but it's a way for me to batch all the things that I need to do so that I can release a new podcast and put out 20 pieces of content and know that they're going to show up later. And I don't have to be thinking about doing that except for that first time that I do it. So for me, being able to say, all right, here's my 30 minutes to publish these 20 pieces of content, and I know they're going to go out and I don't have to stress about it again later. That makes it really easy for me to know that that's going to be out there because it's easy in the hubbub of creating to forget to post to a certain location. And so that's what I use it for, is to make sure that that stuff gets out. And one of the things that I've done, because I have multiple podcasts and multiple things going on, it also allows me to post to these different channels that I can't be on all the time and be able to still get the message out from one central location, which is just absolutely necessary. And I think anybody who's creating content or trying to get their voice out there on the web needs to have something like this that makes it possible for them to be in many places at once without having to go back and repaste it again and again and again.
I think that there's probably people that are doing podcasting right now that don't know that this exists. Because obviously within the podcast world, there's tools like that that can publish a podcast to, Apple, to Spotify. But then to have a central place where you can promote the podcast and say, hey, listen to this new episode and have it brought in
Mm-hmm.
automatically, that might be new to some people. So
Yeah.
what kind of results have you seen from doing this? Like stats
Yeah.
your podcast?
Yeah. So one of the things that I measure more than downloads or things like that are responses, replies, and people who are sharing it. So those are the things that I pay more attention to. And what so can I share my screen? Is that all right?
Yeah, go for
Okay.
it. That would be so
All right.
good.
So I'm going to share my screen here. I'm going to come into my SmarterQ account because it's a little bit easier to show this than to say it. So I have my analytics pulled up, but I'll come back to those. So I have a podcast called A Decade Never to Be Forgotten. And what I did is I'm focusing all my energies on this one thing. And you can see on my queue over here, my profile, this is the only one that has things ready to go out. And that's because I'm really just focusing on this. So you can see there's 32 things that are going out. And what I did is when I release this podcast, I come in and I create all these little audiograms that people can watch and see what they are. what I have this set up to do is basically every day this is going out, and you can see that I put 5 different variations on here. And I'm doing an experiment with this right now to see how this is working. But what's really cool is at any point, this is one of the things that I love, because when I put them all in, they're all in order, but I want them to be more organic. And so I just click this shuffle button, and it just shuffles all my posts so that they come up in whatever order they need to, or whatever order it chooses. That's something that I really like, because I don't want it to just be the same thing over and over again. And because I have these variations, I have different information in the caption for this Instagram account than for each one of the variations, which is really powerful. And then it's set to post 5 times before it finishes. So if we find one of those that is on variation 5, so this one I originally posted like 8 weeks ago, and it's still cycling through because it's combined with all these other posts. And this will be the last time that it goes, but it just does this automatically, and I don't have to worry about it, and I don't have to stress about it, and it just takes care of it for me. And I set these things up, and then my content is continually building over time. And when I go to my Instagram page, people see that I'm posting every day essentially, so they know this is probably a worthwhile one for me to follow.
I absolutely love that. I love it. And I guess that your posting plan. So if anyone's watching this and they're like, what does it mean that it goes out 5 times? I guess that your posting plan is set up for the time that your target listener or client will be online. Did you have like
Yeah.
any tips for podcasters of like when to post or what days that you've had the most success?
Yeah, for me personally, my goal is to just have enough content out there that people will always be able to see something. And and so that's the goal that I have. Right now I'm focused on this one particular podcast. And what's cool is that I've taken off different accounts and then brought different accounts on as I've had different things happening. And so like this one is called Latter Day Lent, and there's not much in here because it's focused on Lent, and Lent is over now, and so I don't have to put a bunch of stuff in here. But looking back at this one, I can see that there were 26 different things that I posted on here, and I can see what they were and how they did. And like, look at all these zeros. It's easy to think, oh, I'm discouraged because I'm getting zeros. But then I see that I get comments on something here, and I'm like, okay, this is good. So it is showing the Facebook, the Instagram, and the X profiles. And so when I did this, what I ended up getting on X is 30,000 views from this account in one weekend. And that was a strategic thing where I was using a specific hashtag where I knew people would be talking about that topic. And it really helped this thing blow up in a way that a lot of people saw what I was doing, and it was really cool. And that led to conversations, direct messages on X, and things like that. And then after that was over, then I released a book and I posted about it, and was able to then get the book to be a bestseller the week after Lent, which was pretty cool also because it was an Amazon bestseller right out the gate. And a lot of that is because I had built the network and the people, even with not a ton of impressions on every one of these posts, which is really powerful because I built those relationships, because people were interacting with my content. Then I would go direct message them and build that conversation or that relationship deeper.
Wow, because this is the thing with social media. A lot of people think that you need 2 million, 1 million followers to be successful. But from this, I guess, was it like a variation post that you posted and it got 30K views? Or was it just
No, it was the whole X account got 30,000 views
right?
in that one weekend. And
Wow.
so it's just because I was posting in the zeitgeist, I was posting in trending topics for my particular niche, and I was able to see the results of that, which was pretty cool.
So just from organic posting on X,
Yeah.
you managed to get a best-selling book in one weekend.
Yep. Yeah. Isn't that cool?
That is so cool.
Yeah.
That
And
is
this is in a brand new social media account, brand new everything. So I didn't have any followers at all. And to be honest, I still don't have that many followers. So let me just pull up that one here. So this is the account. I only have 77 followers, but that was enough for me to connect with people and build some connection and then get my book onto the Amazon bestseller list that week. So a lot of people think you got to have like this huge following, and you don't. What you need are relationships and people who you're engaging with, and when I can schedule out a bunch of posts, then I can go engage with people who interacted with those posts and be able to react that way rather than, just scrolling through and trying to find something that's meaningful. And then once you find those people that have interacted with your stuff, you go interact with their stuff and leave comments on them and interact with them also.
so that's what you're doing. You're having people that are commenting, that are liking your posts, even without a large following, and then you're going in and you're commenting back on their posts, or are you DMing them something specific, like, hey, here's my new book, or putting them on a
Yep.
list anywhere? What would people that would want an Amazon bestseller do to get this same kind of success without having to spend years building up thousands and thousands of followers?
Yeah. So you can see on here, I joined February 2025. So this is just a few weeks, a couple months ago. I have 546 posts total. Here's the Amazon bestseller thing right here, #1, which is pretty cool. And so I put comments, even comments from people outside of the United States where I live. And and then if you look at the replies, I just came in and would chat with people as they made comments. And like I said, I haven't done it very much lately, but somebody says something, so I just leave a comment, and it's not anything big, but what I'm trying to do is connect with people one on one. And then once I do that, then I can send them a DM once they follow me, and then I can talk with them more about whatever's going on. And again, you don't have to be huge to do this. And if we come back to Smarter Q over here and you look at my past categories, I've got 2.4K posts from the B Podcast Network, which is the podcast network that I use. So I've put a lot of content out on that one, and 1.4 thousand in this personal posts categories. And so I've used this tool a lot, and that's how, when it came time for me to do this Latter-day Lent thing, I was able to use it in such a way that it would be beneficial and valuable, and it wouldn't take me a ton of time. And I could invest my time in the place where I was creating great posts, and then I'd schedule them, and then I'd go interact with people after that.
What a brilliant process. Because how much time would you say that it takes you to manage your social media, like per week or per month, to get these kind of results and to have this many posts waiting in your queue that automatically go out to your different social media platforms?
Not long. In fact, I spend very little time on it. So little, I really don't pay attention to it. So I would say, during this Latter-day Lent push, I was probably doing 15 minutes per day is all. So it wasn't a ton. It would have been more if I didn't have Smarter Q, because what I did with Smarter Q, I'll just show you the exact process I went through. So I used a tool called Hunch, which is an AI tool, and I would write a blog post, and then I would paste it in here and run this tool. And what this tool does is it takes all the stuff that I've created and creates a social media post for me. And it creates a whole bunch so that I can choose which ones I want to include. And so it takes just a moment to do this, and I'll show you what it looks like. So it gives me a meta description for SEO purposes, and then it gives me quotes around, or tweets around, personal growth. And so here's a whole bunch that I can choose from in a specific format that I tell it to use. And so there's a whole bunch of different things here. And so I can choose from these, and I just go and copy and paste these into SmarterQ, which I'll do in just a sec. So here's an image to go along with it. So I just click the download button if I like the image. I also have it create an image prompt in JSON so that if I don't like what it came up with, I can go create it somewhere else. But this is a decent picture. Flux 1.1 image is pretty good. And then here is another one. And so I can just click download on that one. And then it also gives me some feedback in here. And to be honest, I've already written the post, so I just glance at this and then I move on. And then it gives me this. And this is the part that's really good because this was the core thing that I was posting using SmarterQ. And so it has one for Instagram, one for Facebook, and one for X. And so I'm going to just copy this and I'm going to come back in here to SmarterQ and to my queue. And I'm going to, now I'm on the clock, so I couldn't find the create a post button. Jeez.
I love it. It's always when you're doing a demo that it's the hardest to
Yeah.
remember.
Oh man. So I click create a post and then I come in here and I just paste these images in here from what I had before. And oops, I don't want to delete that yet. So then what is really cool about this is that I can post to these 3 different profiles from one place, which is what I do all the time. Also, I can add the image in and I just drop the file in and now it has the image to go along with it. So then I come into each one, into the Facebook one, and I just delete the excess stuff. So this is what the Facebook post looks like. I love that I can have it sitting here. And then if I want to do a text variation, one of the cool things that SmarterQ's added is this AI caption writer. And so I can just do, create a social media post and we'll do a story. And I'm just going to copy this here and paste it in. And I'm going to have it be a caring one with no hashtags or emojis. And then I'll just hit generate. And what's cool is that it generates this automatically and it just gives a different perspective on what you're posting. Now, to be very honest, Emma, when I actually do this, I go in and edit these things and write them differently how I would want to say it. But for the sake of this demo, I won't subject everybody to my long, laborious editing process, which takes the longest of anything that I'm doing here. So then I just click add to post. And now I've got a second variation in here very easily. And then I can regenerate and do that a bunch of different times. And like, this is what's so beautiful is if I don't like the image, I can just swap it out really easily. And it's not a pain. So then the next thing that I do on this is I would schedule these for the next day. And so we'll do this for tomorrow. And then I can recycle it after being posted and I can expire after it posts 2 times. And so this is how I typically set up. Now, when I do the podcast, I do 5 different variations of each audiogram that I put in, and I have it recycle 5 times. So nobody sees this. They see the same audiogram, but different captions. And so it looks like it's something new. The benefit of that is that the content that I'm sharing is really great. And so if somebody misses it the first time, I want them to be able to come back and see it later. And so then when it's done, I just click save and that's it. And so this is about how long I spent on each one of my daily posts during this time, those 546 posts on X that I showed you a minute ago. So that was a lot. Any clarifying questions?
So within a few minutes, you've created a ton of posts. And it just,
yes.
And you didn't even have to think. The kind of creative leverage, especially with doing something like a podcast and having to consult with clients, is kind of heavy on the brain, right? But then you don't want to be taking up that kind of time with social media because you can get sucked in as well. And having this interface means that you're not having to go into the platform, get sucked into the scroll. You can just do it all from a central hub and kind of get really strategic with it.
Yeah. That's absolutely the case. And for me, especially where I do get sucked in, it can be really difficult for that to happen. And again, I'm not measuring this on how viral my things go. For me, it's about consistency and constantly putting stuff out. That's what I'm most interested in. And so the one that I showed you before that had the 2.4K posts on it, that was where I pulled in my RSS feeds and it just posted a new podcast episode every single day. So there was always something there, and those were constantly coming up to people's minds. And that's the kind of thing that we want to happen.
There's evergreen content. You can make one podcast, you can promote that one podcast multiple times automatically and then bring in new listeners,
Yep.
like a
Now,
consummation cycle.
and I'm not looking for perfection. I'm not looking for this being popular for everybody. These are very niche things, and I don't need a ton of followers for it to be valuable.
That's so cool because I think a lot of people will be thinking, okay, I need to have this many followers. And it just goes to show that you don't. I had a masterclass with a podcaster a few months ago called Deborah Levitt, and she said, how many people do you think that you need for a good networking event? And the answer was 5. Like if you genuinely connect
That's what I was
with
going to
5
say.
people, then
Yeah.
you know, and they're interested in what you do, they want to buy your course, they want to buy your book, then that's a good turnout. But people are out there thinking, okay, well, social media feels overwhelming, I need to get all of these followers and likes. They're always comparing themselves to people that have been on this journey for years, and that doesn't always translate into results, like a best-selling book, like 30K views in one weekend. So it's really
Yeah.
encouraging.
Yep. And that would be my suggestion to anybody who's watching this is don't feel like you got to be perfect. Don't feel like you got to have virality. Focus on connection. That's what I started with. And that's what I go back to again and again. Focus on connection because that's where the real value is. Because once I put out the book, after I'd been interacting with people for a couple weeks, then people were like, "Oh, that's cool. I'd be totally interested in reading that book." And then that's how it gets to the bestseller level because you've provided value, they see it, and then you offer them something that's going to add more value and they're okay with it, which is great. And that's mutually beneficial to both of you.
It's amazing. So any final words before we share your code for anyone that is interested in listening and joining Smarter Q? Then you can join for free. But is there any final tips that you would give for podcasters or people that are looking to get more clients from social media?
Yeah, one last thing, and here's a little trick for everybody. I didn't say anything about this, but anytime you are talking with someone, you can turn that into content. You don't have to reveal exactly who it is. You don't have to say exactly what their issue was, but that can become content. And then you can create the post, schedule it for later. So it's not like you and I talk and then 30 minutes later, you see me with all these posts about what you and I talked about. That's not building good relationships, right? But if you can say, I was talking to somebody the other day and this is what happened, that's a really powerful way to further what you're trying to do and bring real issues and real problems to what people are experiencing.
Thank you so much. Okay, for anyone that is listening and it is like, okay, I'm interested in trying out Smarter Q. I want to get the same kind of results. I want to get a bestseller. I want to bring people to a podcast and all the incredible things that you've done. I'll put a graphic here with the unique link. So if you want to click on that, that will take you to a 30-day Smarter Q free trial. Normally it's 14 days. So you want to sign up there and you'll get a free onboarding call and a free strategy call as well. You don't need a credit card. It's completely free. Go and check it out and see if it works for you. And where can people find you, Jethro? If they're like, okay, I want to connect, where's the best place for them to go?
Yeah, please do. At Jethro Jones on all the socials. So Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, wherever. Just search for Jethro Jones. You'll see me. My profile picture has less hair on my head, but that's all right. So reach out. I'd love to connect. If you watch this and you reach out, I will also give you a free 30-minute chat to walk you through and talk strategy with you about whenever you want. So that's an extra bonus on top of getting Smarter Q. I'll give you free 30 minutes to just chat about it. And I'd be honored to do that with anybody who's listening.
Wow, that's so kind. Thank you so much. It was a pleasure.